Hey everyone, this is Dhruveen, and in today's session we will be talking about multi-layout form processing using Power Apps and AI Builder. In my earlier sessions, we have talked about how we can perform form processing using multiple form layouts. If you haven't visited my earlier session, link is down below in the description box. So now let's get started with Power Apps development with form processing. Here I am on my machine, and in this video we are going to build this type of power apps where we are going to upload any of our form processing model. When we upload our form processing model, it will detect all the fields from our form and pre-populate the fields within this particular blank form. And once we click on the save of this form, it will store all the information to our defined SharePoint list. With that, we are also performing that this uploaded form is also going to be stored in my list attachment. This is the entire goal for today's session that we are going to perform over here. So here you can see that all the fields has been detected perfectly, and here when I click on submit button, what happen here is it will store everything within our SharePoint list. So without wasting much time, let's get started with the development process throughout this session. So first of all, in my earlier sessions, we have built this particular model. We have built our model that is multiple form processing invoices. The, the model building process is explained in my earlier sessions. Link is available in the description box. Now we need to build a Power Apps in order to use this AI model into our Power Apps form. So how can we achieve that? Let me show you that thing. So first of all, make sure that your model is published. If your model is not published, you will not be able to use that into Power Apps or Power Automate. Now you just need to click on use this model option from here. So that will create one Power Apps using this particular model. Or you can create using app section. So let's click on app section, and now let's create new canvas app. So I'm just clicking on new app and clicking on canvas app. Now I just want to design my application for tablet layout, so I'm selecting tablet layout. Based on your requirement, you can choose the appropriate layout. It has created one blank canvas app for me. Now let me just add one new screen. So I'm just adding one scrollable screen here. Let me just give the title. Now let's add our form processor control. So select your data card, and now let's add the control. Go to the insert menu, and here you will be having an option AI builder. I'm just zooming a little bit so you will get a better idea. AI builder, and now just click on that, and here you will be finding form processor. So let's add that control. So the control has been added inside this particular data card. Now, whatever the publish model that we have used, we just need to add that as a data source. So our published form processor model name is multiple form processing invoices. So let's select that. Now let's just give a little bit of height. Now we want to pre-populate everything inside our SharePoint form, right? So for that, first of all, we need to define the data structure for our form. So now let me talk about the data structure in detail over here. So first of all, I have created one SharePoint site collection, and inside that I have created two different lists. So let me show you the list structure first. In SharePoint, I have created two different lists. One is invoice multiples and second one is invoice line items. Now, as the list suggests, invoice multiples means it is storing this many of fields like the header section, entire header section, and this subtotal, sales tax, and total. This many of fields has been stored into invoice multiple list. And similar way, line items are stored. Line items means this repeating section. These line items are stored into the another list, which is invoice line items. And here I have taken a reference of my invoice ID that has been stored into this particular list. So whatever the item ID for this invoice is, I am storing that information over here. One more thing, I am going to provide the list structure for both of this list. So you can directly download that and practice more about that. But let me show you the list structure as well. So this is the list structure. You can just simply take a screenshot and prepare the same list. Similar way for invoice line items, this is the list structure. You can simply take the screenshot and prepare the list. Now let me move over to the Power Apps, and now let's create our form. So first of all, we need to prepare the data source connection. So I'm just clicking on the data source. Now from connectors, we need to click on SharePoint, add a SharePoint connector. We need to provide the site. So my site is AI demos. So you can simply paste your URL over here, or if it is showing in the recent site, you can use that. Now we just need to connect both the list that we want to use. So I want to use invoice multiples as well as invoice line items. So let's select both of this and let's click on connect. Now we need to establish the form. So for that, just go to your tree view, just select your data card, and now just click on insert, and now from form let's select edit form. So that will add one form over here. So let's just arrange that form. So it has added the form outside this data card. So let's cut that and paste that into this data card. Let's arrange that. And now let's provide the data source. So I'm just providing the data source as invoice multiples. So let's select that. So this has created this form for me. Now let's remove this attachment control from here because we do not need that control. Now we just need to make some title changes over here, right? Let's say for an example, this is the title column, but I want to consider that as a invoice number, right? So just select that, and now let's change that. So the text value is parent.displayName, right? So we just need to change my parent display name. Let's unlock the card, and now let's select its display name, that is invoice number. Right now, if you want to make any other change, you can do that, otherwise we are good. Now first of all, select your form. Do one thing, go to the item code and just type default action, defaults, and inside that just provide the list name, that is invoice multiples. That will initialize your new form. Now let's unlock the other cards and pre-populate the value over here. So I'm selecting all the cards together. Now we need to set the default property for each individual data card for pre-populate the value. So I just selected this invoice number, and now I remove this code from here, and now we just need to use form processor 1, that is the ID for your form processor control. So we just need to copy this ID and paste it, form processor 1 dot fields, and inside the fields we will get the value that we have defined, and from here I will be getting the invoice number. So let's type that invoice number. Similar way, here we just need to use form processor 1 dot fields dot invoice date. So this field name is something that we have defined in our earlier session while we have trained our AI builder model. Similar way, here that is the address, form processor 1 dot fields dot city state, phone number, email, street address, invoice to company name, invoice to state city, invoice to phone, invoice to email, subtotal, total, sales tax. So this is how we can pre-populate the different fields over here. Now we need to prepare one data table for line items. For that, just select your data card from here and now go to the insert menu, and from here just click on the data table. So let's click on that. So that has added one data table over here inside the data card. Now what we need to do here is we need to provide the data source for that. For that, just click on items code from here. Now here we need to type form processor 1 dot tables, and from that tables we need to provide the name of the table that we have defined while training the data AI model. So that is line items product. So let's select that. Now once you add that, you just need to click on the properties and click on fields and click on edit fields. Just click on add fields, and now let's show the different fields that are quantity, description, unit price and line item, and let's click on add. So that will create this table. Now let's arrange that table. So let's just shrink the size and arrange that properly here. So this is the scrollable screen, and now we just increase the height for our data card, and now let's just arrange this data table. And here we are, we set our data table. Now we need to do one more thing, like let's say we want to store this particular form. So for that, let's just provide the save button. So I'm just inserting one save button from here. So let's just provide save icon. First of all, I want to store this particular form to my invoice multiples list, because all the master information is stored here, and line items are something which are stored into invoice line items. So let's do that procedure. So first of all, from here we just simply need to click on submit form. So let's just use submit form, and inside that provide the form ID. That's all to store this form into invoice multiples list. Now once this particular form has been stored, what we need to do here is we want to store this line item by taking the reference of this list. So for that, what we need to do is we just need to click on our form, and now we just need to type its on success event. So we just need to write our code on success of this form, and we just need to manage, like once the form is being submitted successfully, we need to store all of these line items to our another SharePoint list with last submitted ID of this particular form. For that, we are going to use one loop over here. For that, we are going to use one for all loop, and we are storing each line item to our SharePoint list. So for that, just use for all. Inside that, you need to provide the source, which information you want to store. So basically, whatever the line items that I will be getting here inside this data table, meaning in data table which items do we pass these items. So we need to loop on this particular items code. So let's copy this and let's go to the forms on success. So source is this one. Now we need to provide a formula. So basically we want to insert the line item, so we will use patch function. Inside the patch function, what we are going to do here is we want to store our information to the invoice line items. So we need to provide the list name, so that is invoice line items. So let's provide that. Then we need to store the new item, so we will be using defaults, and inside that we want to provide list name, that is invoice line items. Then press comma, and we need to provide the entire record structure. So let's provide curly braces, and inside that let's provide the column names. So first is title. So title column is something which will be stored as a description. So we just need to provide this item dot description, this record dot description. So description, quantity, unit price, line total and invoice ID. We need to provide this 5 information. So description we provided. Now let's provide quantity. So second column is quantity, right? And inside that let's provide this record dot quantity, and this is the numeric value. So we just need to use value function. Similar way, third column is unit price. So unit price will be this record dot unit price. Line total, and that's value will be this record dot line total. And at last submitted form ID, right? So invoice ID field, so that would be your SharePoint form submitted ID. So form1 dot last submit dot ID. So that will be stored. Let's finish one bracket. Right, now let's format our code. First of all, loop in your grid, patch the new records into this invoice line item list, and let's provide each individual field's value here. And that is how we can able to store all the fields to our invoice line items list. Now we want to do one more thing. We want to store this uploaded file as well, right? So how can we store that? For that, we need to create one separate flow for that. To create the flow, just click on create. From here, click on instant cloud flow. I want to trigger my flow from Power Apps. Just click on create. And now let's provide the name of your flow, that is save attachment. And now click on next step. Now let's add an action, add attachments. Select the site and list name. Select the ID that we need to have from Power Apps. So just click on ask in Power Apps. Provide the name of your file. So I'm just providing my invoice.pdf. That is the static name I'm going to provide at this moment. Now file content, it is something that is coming from the Power Apps. So just click on ask in Power Apps. Do one thing, remove this one, and now go to the expression and just type data URI to binary. So data URI to binary, and inside that just provide the variable that you just initialize, that is add attachments file content. So the formula will be looking like this, data URI to binary, and inside that the variable that you just defined, that is your add attachment file container. And just click on add and just click on save. Now we want to add this particular flow to my Power Apps. For that, just click on your Power Apps. Now just add any random button on your screen. So I'm just adding one random button here. And now let's add our flow on top of that. Just go to the action and click on Power Automate. On the left hand side, you will be able to see all the flows. So my flow name is save attachment. So let's select that flow, that is save attachment. So I am adding this flow. Here we need to provide the invoice ID. So let's use value, and inside that form1 dot lat submitted dot id. And then press comma, and we need to provide the image. So the image will be something which is the ID of your form processor control dot original image. So just click on your button and just use dot original image. Right, now let's copy this code from here, and now open your form success event. Now once this has been submitted successfully, we need to call this particular function. So we have added all the codes here, and now let's perform some testing. So I'm clicking on run and uploading any of the invoice, and let's see. First of all, let me remove the line items from here, so we will be getting better idea. So from invoice in multiples, I'm removing everything, and similar way from invoice line items, I'm removing everything. Now here you can see that all the fields has been detected perfectly like this. Now we just want to store this information. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just clicking on save icon from here. Let's see what happens. So just clicking on save from here, and you can see that the form is about to submit. Let's check the list over here. So here you can see that our invoice has been stored and one line item is being added here, right? And this appropriate invoice ID is also been associated here, right? Now let's check the flow run as well. So I'm just going to here, and now the flow ran successfully and the item is also submitted successfully. So let's do one thing. Let's check the line item. Let's check the item. So I'm just clicking on my invoice number, and here you can see that the invoice is also being uploaded. Click on that, so it will open your uploaded invoice, right? So this is how you can store your uploaded invoices with the line items and everything, right? So this is really cool. Now let's do some minor tweaks. Let's just remove this button from here, and let's provide one success message to the end user that the form has been submitted successfully, and reset our form. So in order to reset the thing, let's add one reset icon, reset form, and inside that form 1, apart from that, reset, and inside that the ID of your form processor model, that is your form processor 1. And let's do one more thing. On success of this form, let's write one more code. Notify form has been submitted successfully, and type of notification is notification type dot success. Now let's publish our app and let's test our application. So I am running my application. Now let's upload one another form processor sample from here. So I'm uploading any of this sample over here. So here all the fields has been detected properly, and now let's just click on save. So the form has been submitted successfully, and now let's reset our form using this reset icon, and now let's check the details into our list. So here you can see that one more invoice number has been added here, and when we click on that and just click on attachment, it will show the attachment like this that we have uploaded. And similar way, the line items is also being added here. Two line items were there for here, so it has been added properly over here, right? So this is how you can build the power apps using your form processing AI model, and you can process the form with a different layout. Hope this is clear for you now. If you have any question, you can add your questions in the comment section. One more important thing, I am going to provide the code of these Power Apps and Power Automate to my GitHub repository. The links are always down below in the description box, so check over there. If you are for the first time to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe and press the bell notification to never miss any updates from my channel. Stay connected with me on Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter. Also, if you wish to listen different Power Platform related podcasts, you can either click on this particular link. This will be redirecting you to my podcast homepage. From here, you can listen your favorite Power Platform related audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Ghana and much more. Also, if you wish to listen to different Power Platform podcast on YouTube, then I have separate channel for the podcast which is Digital Dhruvin. You just simply need to go with the URL that is provided in the description box, and you just need to just click on subscribe. So whenever I will upload the podcast, you can listen your favorite Power Platform podcast over there. This podcast are a very short in a length and you can learn the concept easily. If you are preparing for any certification and all, and during your bad time if you want to listen different Power Platform podcasts, then this channel will definitely going to use a lot. So make sure that you subscribe my another channel as well. Also, I'm available on the Instagram as well. That is a new page that we just initialized, so make sure that you follow us on Instagram as well. See you in the next session. Have a great day. Goodbye.